Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm an old fountain pen enthusiast and a new fountain pen reviewer, and today I wanted to share with you a review, or rather my personal review of the simple but very reliable pen of TWSBI, the TWSBI 580, which I'm going to put for you here to enjoy. The TWSBI 580 is a very nice size pen, I'm going to tell you a couple of things that I think distinguishes this pen from other pens, and a couple of things that I don't think it does very well, to be particularly honest with you. But here's my take on this pen. It has a couple of really nice things going for it, which is the nib size. You can go anything from an extra fine, a fine, a medium, a broad, and a 1.1 millimeter stub and a 1.5 millimeter stub. So you've got plenty of choices for this nib, and I went for the 1.5 millimeter stub because I like broad nibs, and this one is definitely a broad. Now, my experience with the pen is it's very solid, to be very honest with you. First of all, you get a tool, a wrench, a TWSBI wrench, that you can use to disassemble the entire pen. You can take off the pen, the section, the nib, the feed, the nib collar, the plastic part, the spinning part, the clear plastic, the piston knob, the piston unit, and you can completely clean it. And it's a demonstrator pen, obviously, because you can see everything that's inside. You can see the piston moving, you can see the ink moving around. I have a very dark ink here, which is Orishizuku Asagao, which is Morning Glory. A very dark, but not a very shading ink, but very nice ink. But I'll leave that for later. Clip of the pen is, I've never had issues with it, but I wouldn't say that the clip is perfect for this pen, because when you clip it to something, you feel like it'll easily clip into something, but it will also easily leave your shirt pocket, or if you put it in your pockets. It doesn't feel as good as, say, the clip of a Lamy Safari. The Lamy Safari is also a decently sized pen, and if you uncap both of them, you will notice that they are of a similar size. Similar girth, but the section is a little bit different, with the Lamy Safari obviously having the flat facets on the section, which is meant so that you would grip the pen in the correct, there are many theories about what is the correct grip for the pen. For me, it's whatever you feel comfortable with, so long as you don't hold the pen like this, like choking the pen while you write, then you should be fine. It's a decent sized pen, clear, lots of nice features about it, one of which is that it has a large ink capacity of about 2 mLs, and if you compare that to, I'm using the Lamy Safari here because it's very easily available at stationery stores, or you can get it off Amazon, or you can easily find this pen. It's not a problem. The converter here holds about 5 mLs of ink. Not 5 mLs, I'm sorry, it's half an ml, 0.5 ml of ink, which, is not bad, but if you're doing a day worth of writing, for me, I'm a teacher, and, sometimes when we're grading papers for, say, 3, 4, or 5 hours, this pen will definitely run out on me in one complete fill. Like, one complete fill, 3, 4 hours of correcting papers, it's gonna run dry. And this is using an extra fine nib. So half an ml is not good for really rapid, lots of writing and notes and corrections and putting grades. And so 5.5 ml is not a huge amount of ink capacity, but there's a way to get around that by using the cartridge that's provided with Lamy. It holds 1 ml of ink, so it's about twice as much ink, and you can use a medical syringe to, pull out the cartridge, clean it with water, inject it with water, and it's completely clean, and then you can suck in the ink from an ink bottle, red, purple, whatever color you would like, and inject it into the cartridge. It's not the most, practical method, but it gives you more ink, and if you have this pen, then you might as well know all the tricks, alright? That's the ink capacity comparison. Another thing nice about this pen, I believe, is that you can always know how much ink you have, which is very useful to know. Not that you need to often check, because 2 mLs of ink is plenty. A cool thing of being able to see the ink capacity so easily is that you never run into the problem where even if you have a pen with a massive ink capacity, it's a problem when you can't see the ink that's inside. You know, like, I mean, for example, Visconti Homo sapiens, the Bronze Age model, has a power filler that holds a minuscule amount of ink compared to the massive and super heavy weight of the pen, which is about nearly 50 grams, and it holds 1 ml of ink, which is twice as much as a converter of a Lamy Safari, and it's just as much as a Lamy cartridge, which, if you think about it, not really that impressive. I just don't think that's enough to consider it as a, you know, like a piston or a power filler. And as for the Homo sapiens Steel Age model, it holds about 0.9 ml. You know, so again, the Mont Blanc 149 holds about 1.6, 1.7 ml. I've measured this because I removed the nib unit, cleaned the pen completely, retracted the piston all the way back, injected it with water, and I got about 1.7. More like 1.8. But when you install the nib in the feed unit, you get a little bit less because displacement. You get less liquid inside the body. And the funny thing is that the modern Mont Blanc 149 and 146, they hold about the same ink because the piston rod inside the piston seal is the same width, the same diameter. You know, Mont Blanc did this obviously to save costs, so that instead of building 2 different sized pistons, it's basically the same piston rod and seal, not the same diameter of the piston unit in the back, because if you use the Mont Blanc tool, which has the 2 prongs at the back, it will not fit into a Mont Blanc 149. I did this because I made a homemade tool to disassemble them. And it's funny to me that both pens hold about the same amount of ink, even though one is massively bigger. But going back to the TWSBI 580, the nib out of the factory, I have to say it's very nice. I tried it in the medium. Actually, this is the TWSBI Mini's nib. The one that I got with this pen is the medium on the TWSBI Mini. And it writes very, very nicely. It's wet, it's very good. I've never had any flow issues with it. It was basically the Boy Scout of nibs. It just did perform very well. Nothing special, but nothing bad at all. Nice nib, smooth, good flow. What more can you ask, you know? And remember when I said that, you know, you have a variety of nibs? It's nice that you can swap the nibs out, even from a Mini all the way to a 580, which is nice that you can switch them around. Same thing with the Lamy Safari. You can switch the nibs easily, and that's a nice feature. Now, I have a modest number of fountain pens in my collection, and these 3 pens are the only 3 in my entire collection currently are inked. Well, that's not true, because I have my old-time favorite pen is inked, but we'll get to that later. These 3 are inked because this one holds a lot of ink, good nib size, fun to write with, easy to maintain because I can fully disassemble and put back the pen and completely clean it. And I forgot to mention that it's a demonstrator model, but what is nice about it is that I have a couple of other demonstrator models, like the Noodler's Ahab Clear, the Pelican M200 Clear model, the new one, and cleaning them is a hellish experience, to say the least, because they stain very easily from the inside, and you can get ink anywhere in these places. I mean, you can get ink in really, really weird places that are almost impossible to get rid of and clean. And, you know, obviously with a black pen, there's all sorts of ink stains inside there, but you can't see them because it's black. It's opaque. You can't see through it. But with a clear pen, you clearly see it. So it bothers you because, you know, for example, you see the inner cap, and there are droplets of ink inside. And that pisses you off because it's a clear pen, you can see it and you want to clean it. So you kind of become an OCD person by owning a pen that is a demonstrator. I know it's annoying, but it's a price you pay for looking at your ink, and it's nice to have at least one demonstrator in your collection, because you might, who knows, you might like it very much, you know. And this one is nice because it doesn't stain. When you suck the ink from the bottle here, when you fill it, you don't get stains on the clear plastic. You see, it's black plastic, metal, then plastic. So I can dip the pen all the way here, and it will not touch the clear part. So it won't stain, and the ink will go through the feed, through the black plastic tubing inside. Allow me to give you a demonstration of that. I don't have enough grip, so I'm going to have to use something to allow me to open this. Hopefully I can open it up for you as quickly as possible, which currently seems like it is impossible to do. I'm sorry, but it seems like I need to use something slightly bit more grippier. Hold on a second. I think I got it. Yep, there we go. It's open. Sorry for the delay. I got a little bit of ink on my leg, but here we go. I just wanted to be thorough here. See, the insides, there's a little hole for the ink to go. And this is kind of nice because sometimes I even inject the pen with ink and I don't have to clean it at all. Just inject it in there with a syringe. And if you go put it like this, it won't leak out because the hole is small. Here's the thing. That is the black plastic that I'm talking about. The ink will go through the black plastic from the inside, from the feed, and the clear plastic will not get stained. So you get a demonstrator that's fairly low maintenance, which is genius, you know, but with a Pelican M200 demonstrator, it's the other way around. The section can easily get stained, and I figured I had to create methods. You know, I had to stand on my head and think about it, about how to clean the pen, and using all sorts of crazy methods to clean it. And it's the same thing with the TWSBI Mini. See, this pen is nice to hold. It's a full-size pen. It's very comfortable to write with, and post-it. It's another thing that I don't really like about the pen. But incidentally, lately it's become something that I like because it becomes a very comfortable pen to write with if you have a relaxed sort of gripping the pen really far back and in a comfortable position, letting the pen rest in the webbing of your hand. It's very nice to write with this way, and the cap will not fly off, but the ink will. The cap, if you want to remove it, you have to sort of wiggle it a little bit to remove it. So it is pretty safe. Don't worry, I'll use a news page. You know, it's a waste, but you know, no problem. The TWSBI Mini is the same thing, but it's a smaller size pen. It has every bit of function as the 580, except a slightly less in capacity, about 1.6 ml. When I measured this is a 1.9 ml maximum in capacity. This is 1.6. Maybe a tiny bit more if you really jam in the ink in there, but 1.6 is probably as much as you can get from it. But it has a nice feature of the cap being able to thread in the back of the pen. For example, if you go like this, the cap is screwed in there. It's threaded, so it will not move. So the pen becomes like one piece, and that's very nice, you know. And it's a very, very comfortable pen to write with. It's more portable, and if you're thinking about using this pen as a daily writer, which, you know, usually at these prices, and you know, people want to get this pen, you know, use it every day. It's practical. You don't want to use a Mont Blanc 149 or a Pelican 1000 or a Visconti at work or at office or at school or college. You want to use something that's, you know, heavy duty, practical, just, you know, and if it just shatters, completely breaks, it won't break your heart. Probably will if you like fountain pens, but not as much as an expensive one. Important thing about the reliability of these pens. A lot of stories have risen about these pens shattering. I don't know about the older models like the TWSBI 530, 540, but the 580 I've used there for quite some time. More specifically about 4 months, and same thing with the Mini. I bought them both at the same time, and I loved them ever since. They're very practical, easy to maintain, awesome pens. Complaints are the posting on the 580 is not ideal. It doesn't sit as far back, you know, like with this pen, you know, when you post, the cap goes deeper, so it becomes sort of a modest sized pen. But with the 580, if you post it, it just becomes this huge pen. In fact, this pen posted is just as long as a Pelican M1000 posted, which is the flagship of Pelican. It's that huge. And both of them, the 580 and the Pelican 1000 posted, are longer than the Mont Blanc 149, which is another massive oversized pen. Now, as for the nib choices, out of the factory experience, I always ground my own nibs. I always grind them, I always fine-tune them, make them wetter, and just make them write as I want them to write. And out of the box, the medium nib, and I suspect the broad, the fine, the extra fine, will perform just as you expect them. No problems at all. But when you go to 1.1 millimeter, you might run into ink flow issues because the nib is broader, but the feed is the same. No modifications. Now you might imagine when you go to a 1.5 millimeter stub, the ink flow is going to run into problems, and it will. And I bought one, and I got a 1.5 millimeter stub, and the feed just can't keep up with a broad line, you know, like this. I mean, it can't keep up with a line that's this broad. It's ridiculous to ask it to do that with a feed that is tuned to work with an extra fine nib. It just doesn't work. So I had to pull out the feed, carve a little bit on the feed channel, make it a little bit wider, you know, make a little bit of adjustments in the air intake flow from the bottom of the feed. Made a little bit of adjustments to the nib itself, widened the tines a little bit. It had, I like to make my nibs a little bit sharper. So out of the factory, it's plenty stubbish. It very thin lines from cross strokes and thick lines from top to bottom. Don't worry about it. You'll get all that goodness. But I like my nib to be a little bit sharper, so I use one of these. These are micro mesh kind of grit that they use for filing nails. But the cool thing about this one is that it has 6 sides on it, and each one of them is a different grit. Like, you know, very rough grit, slightly less rough, and then you have these 2 sides. This one is a rough, and this one smooth. And this one just makes it buttery smooth. And I don't like that. I don't like super buttery smooth pens, but I like them to have slightly bit of feedback, you know, so that you can actually feel the pen writing. So with this pen, with the modifications, it can write like this. You can expect this pen to write like this. You know, it's just effortless, smooth, and with the modifications to the feed, considering that I've kept the pen uncapped for most of this review, it does very well, in my opinion. It's not the wettest pen out there, but it does just fine. Now, let me just give you a clean page let me just blot off the excess ink, because I know this will go on the table. So, new page just to give you a demonstration. This is how the 1.5 millimeter stub would write. Be lazy dog. Alright, so you get plenty of line variation. Nice, smooth, and very pleasant to write with. And for the medium, for comparison, you know, this is on the TWSBI Mini. It's the nib of the 580. Remember, I switched the nibs around. The quick, yeah, you can really notice that the line is a little bit different. This one is a lot thinner. This is a medium. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy jog. You can see my handwriting is a little bit messy, but you get no line variation with a medium nib as you would get with a nice, fat, juicy stub. But if you want a little bit of both, don't go for the broad, because it's just a medium that's oversized. You don't get line variation. But if you want line variation, but you don't want a 1.5, go for the 1.1. You'll get an awesome experience. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is I know that I've talked a lot about ink capacity, and I used to care about it a lot in the past, but really, you don't really need that much ink capacity. I thought of another solution, which is, um, uh, let me put it this way. I use these little bottles that hold about 30 mLs of ink. 30 mLs of ink is plenty. I mean, if this is a 2 ml ink capacity pen, that means you can fill it 15 times with this tiny little bottle. I mean, for size comparison, it's a tiny bottle. And metal cap, plastic doesn't crack, and the cap can fit your small finger, which is about 20 millimeter diameter, so it'll fit even a Pelican M1000, 149, King of Pen, Delta Dolce Vita oversized, no problems, and it's not a very fat bottle at the bottom, so you can get most of the ink out, no issues. And a metal cap that when you seal it has a little foam at the top that's laminated, so it's liquid proof. It's kind of a medical grade bottle, so when you close it, this is closed, you can keep going, so you can get a tight fit. And I fill it with ink. Now, I'm crazy about ink, so I use a 50 ml worth of ink in this bottle, and this one is filled with Orshizuku Asagao, the Morning Glory. I love that ink color. It's very nice, fully saturated. Not a lot of shading, but very nice. This is 50 ml. I mean, if you use a pen case that holds 2 pens and you have a daily writer and this bottle, you're good to go. You'll have like infinite ink capacity for a whole. I mean, if you write all day long for 24 hours, you'll never run out of ink. So don't buy a pen for the ink capacity. Buy a pen because you like it. It's a cartridge converter, whatever. It's a piston converter, it's a vacuum converter, it doesn't matter. If you have a little bottle with you, one of these, you can get them cheaply off Amazon. You're good to go. Don't buy a pen just for the ink capacity because it's an eyedropper or whatever. Buy a pen because you like it, because it writes nicely. Not because the pen has a lot of ink. And I also have another method of using, if you're getting new into fountain pens, you can use the Lamy Safari. And hold on here just for one moment while I bring the bottle to you. I have it right here. There we go. That's the bottle. Now, if you just started into fountain pens, you don't know what nib size to get, and you're planning on an investment that you want to pay off for long run, you can get a Lamy Safari, choose the color you want, get the nib you want, and then buy refill nibs. I put them into a small bottle as well, and I carry them with me. So if you have technically a small bottle filled with ink and a small bottle with nibs, the pen, you have ink that will last you for a month of vigorous writing almost every day, and you have every nib size you want. You can swap them out easily, piece of tissue, pull the nib out, install the new one, throw them back in the bottle, good to go. Simple as that. And they're safe, they're steel nibs, they're not going to be expensive. You can get the whole nib sizes for under $50. The pen is $20, and you're buying the pen with a nib, so you don't have to buy another nib. And you can get all the sizes from extra fine to a 1.9 millimeter stub. So extra fine, fine, medium, broad, 1.1, 1.5, 1.9 millimeter stub. So all the nibs, everything, in one pen. You just carry one pen, 2 tiny little bottles, and you have every nib size you want. That's a good deal in my opinion, and you could just easily fill it. So long as you have tissue, nibs, bottle, you're good to go. Put them back into the bottle, kind of like putting rice, like little tiny nibs. Obviously you don't have to just pour them all on the table like that, but you can just use the cap. Choose them and then go like this. I just wanted to do this for demonstration purposes. And the other bottle is filled with ink. You can go for a bigger bottle if you want, but 30 ml is plenty. 30 ml will fill this pen like 60 times. So yeah, 60 times. This will help me grade like all the exams in my entire country with this bottle. No problems. It's a small country, but it'll fit. So you got another choice. For under $100, you can get a pen, all the nib sizes, the inks, and the bottles. And from now on, you will have your own tester set. But if you're like me and you want to have a pen that you just one to actually use on its own. A pen that can really become your daily writer, not expensive, wouldn't kill you if you lost it or got shattered or broken. I would really recommend the 580. It teaches you so much about caring for a pen, cleaning the pen, using the piston, disassembling the pen, adjusting the feed a little bit, doing things with it. You know, I mean, you have to watch videos, and everything you do is under your own risk. But using an expensive pen is not a good way to learn, but using a cheap pen is a much better way to learn. I mean, if you got these nibs, you can adjust some of them, and you can see what you can do. You can learn to grind nibs, you can learn to adjust them, fine-tune them to the way you write. Use one of these micro mesh or little platelets. It's just a very good way to start the hobby, or if you already started and you want something to expand your way of using fountain pens. I would highly recommend these pens for anyone who is starting with fountain pens. This one is perfect if you want a small pen, capped, posted. It's a full-size pen for anyone. It's comfortable to use. It's a lovely, lovely pen. And this one, if you want a full-size pen and a gigantic pen posted, go for the 580. And if you want a pen that is more versatile than anything I've ever seen in the world, is the Safari. Good old-fashioned Safari. I mean, you can't go wrong with these pens, and they're bomb-proof. That plastic is super strong, ink window, very strong, reliable clip, super light, so the clip can easily maintain the pen. These pens are a lot heavier than this one, and you could easily feel it in your hands. They're about 35 grams, This one is not much, doesn't weigh anything. Even when you post it, you don't feel the weight of the cap. It's just that light. That's my recommendation if you want to start with these pens. I'll give you a little bit more writing with these pens. Preferably, I like the stub a bit more than anything else. And, if you're ever thinking about going for another pen, for more line variation, I would highly recommend something like a flexible nib. If you're going for flexible nibs, I highly recommend Eversharp's. They make amazing, amazing nibs. And for anyone who is asking about how to improve your handwriting, do this. And don't just do this. Write a letter and just simply repeat it until you perfect that letter as much as you can. For example, if I can find an empty page here for you. I'm really seriously low on paper, but I need to get more paper, but let me find you. There we go. That's okay. So, you want to learn how to improve your handwriting. My handwriting isn't great at all. I'm still improving, but here's the technique. Just write one letter, and you keep repeating it. For cursive, we just keep going like this. Just like a machine until you perfect the letter, so you can write like this. Smooth, soft, fluent, just fluid motions, no stutters, no nothing, and keep practicing as much as you can, and you will improve. And I would highly recommend, and you can search this online, the polymer method of business writing. It has improved my handwriting dramatically, from my point of view at least, and this is as best as I can write. There we go. And this is sadly the end. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching. And I wish you the best of luck.